The Tigers are in an interesting spot, aren't they? And there's plenty of debate around whether they're just injury hit or whether there's deep problems there. Let's have a listen to Adem Yze's assessment of the situation and then Dan Rioli today on the game plan.
A lot of teams do go through this when they have had success, things like that, or they're just starting out and they're rebuilding, but we don't feel like we're at that point. We feel like we can, when we've got everyone available, we can be competitive. So, yeah, we'll just keep working on our game.
Obviously, we've got a new game plan, new coaches, but we can't use that as an excuse. I think we just need to be better on field as a playing group. We've got a game plan there to execute, and I think we've just been a bit off. Like, our intensity's there, our effort's there, but we just can't sort of nail our game plans.
I'm really surprised to hear them say that they think if there's everyone available that they can be competitive, because there's their 25 and unders. So Shea Bolton and Gibcus aside, who is a potential All-Australian out of that group? I would say none of those. So to hear them say that we believe this group can challenge for the top 8 and top 4 if the availability is there, I just disagree with it, and I think it's the wrong strategy for Adem Yze.
What about Daniel Rioli?
Yeah, Dan Rioli.
What about Noah Bolter?
Yeah,
what about Liam Baker?
Not all Australians, I don't think. Not at the All-Australian level, and who knows if Liam Baker stays. But I think it's the great opportunity for Adem Yze to get 5 years. Rebuilding coaches like Matthew Nicks, Sam Mitchell will get 5 years.
They're not there, though. He says they're competitive. I think...
He's delusional to think...
They're in denial.
Yeah,
I think some of the
100%.
commentary carry
How can you judge?
How
can you judge when on... I know Saturday night was 111 points off turnovers, but 13 players under 15 games, 5 players to have played every game this season. Remember Hardwick's first year, 0-9 with 43%.
So what's best case? If
43%.
Everyone's available,
nobody knew that Dustin Martin in 2009 was going to be what he became.
The recruiting in the last 5 years hasn't been up to it.
No,
I don't think.
I disagree with that.
Like, what would you do?
Well, I think they've got to be honest with themselves. The worst position for a club to be in is not knowing where you're at. Now, if they think they're in the mix when everyone's available, I think there's some delusion in that. I think it's pretty obvious, and it has been for the last 2 years, that this is the way that it's going. So you're going to have to see what you can get for the experienced players. What can you get for Baker? Is there anything for Rioli? You've got to explore that, and then you've got to hit the draft hard, and you've got to be honest with yourself that it's going to be a really...
I disagree with whittling the club away to nothing. I disagree
not to
with that.
Carrie, but what would you rather?
Baker and Rioli.
Finish 11th and 12th for the next 4 or 5 years, and then you don't even get the access to the top end of the draft.
I think it's impossible to judge at the moment.
And Damien Harbour saw it. He didn't make the list. That's why he hit the parachute. He saw a better one north. He was asked tonight on Fox Footy whether he felt responsible.
Oh, look, yes and no. Like, the reality is, I took over a club that was, very similar. We finished 3rd or 4th bottom, and the fact of the matter is people do their very best to try and win. And the reality is when people move aside or coaches move on, there is going to be a rebuilding process.
I actually don't have an issue with that. Yeah, he was partly responsible. They had, as Matthew pointed out a few weeks ago, won 3 flags in 4 years. They're entitled to have another crack. A lot of clubs do it. Where it goes from now is impossible to tell at the moment because of the injuries. What I think has changed is Dustin Martin's future, or the thinking around Dustin Martin's future. Can we have a listen to what Trent Cotchin had to say, and then I'll continue?
He's definitely capable of it. I just don't know if the place that he is in right now, whether he's got the energy to do so. Since, his old man passed away, it's been a challenge for Dusty, and probably getting himself right is the absolute priority, and I know that the club's helping him with that. So to put such a commitment on someone who needs to get himself at his best is a big call and going to be challenging.
So that was his great mate and former captain last week. This is his manager, Ralph Carr, will always be the people's champion, listing basically Dustin Martin's achievements as he heads towards 300 games. I don't think that was I think in some way that was aimed at you, Kane, and your comments on Classified last Monday night. I don't think the Martin camp enjoyed your comments. I'm not...
Why do you say that?
Please don't shoot the messenger. It's just come back to me that's correct.
What were the comments, Kane?
Well, I thought
Kane said he should retire.
Yeah, that was the column
conversation.
I wrote, and I couldn't have been any more complimentary to Dustin Martin. And hearing Trent Cotchin speak, that just confirms my opinion that this is the perfect time for Dustin Martin to go out as the champion that I wrote that he was, and that he has always been. If he wants to stick around in this side with the lack of motivation that Trent is talking about, I'd be surprised that could be the best in his best interest.
I think Trent Cotchin was hinting at something a lot worse than lack of motivation.
I was just wondering, does Dusty need Richmond more than he's ever needed them right now, and that's what we've got to think about as a AFL community.
Would you give him another year on that basis
he's playing
to keep
the right thing, though, Lordo? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that Richmond can do to support Dustin Martin.
Tim Watson's question was about leadership. Now, clearly, leadership has not been... He's been a brilliant on-field leader, but leadership has never been something he's been good at and not something he's ever wanted to do.
Yeah.
It was a telling answer, and it shows that he is struggling, and he's probably struggling with more than just lack of form. I mean, it is worth saying that last year he did finish second in the BNF, so it's not like it's fallen apart for years.
You said last week he was limping to the line. Were they critical of your comments as well?
I think that, well, I'm not sure, maybe, but that didn't come back to me. I just honestly think that Richmond now, they just want to know that he wants to be there. They want some hint from Dustin Martin, having supported him a lot for the last 2 or 3 years, that he is prepared to commit to them.
That's pretty much telling them that they feel that at the moment he doesn't feel he's giving enough for them to ask that question.
Of course.
Pretty much telling him.
Absolutely.
So. Well, the problem they got is they need an answer sooner than later, mid-year worst, because so much of their decision-making and...
Craig, the money's not going to be that significant. It's not going to be that significant.
Where else is he earning 600, 700,000?
No, exactly. No, I mean in terms of Richmond's salary cap is what I mean.
No, but it is a fair part of their planning profile of what, are they rebuilding? Are they resetting? What kind of money can they afford for him? What do the others do? Like, I think it's a fair piece.
No, I'm not sure tweets like that from Ralph help either. It was very cryptic, and I read it and thought, is Dustin Martin retiring? Of course.
The tweet has since been deleted, which is also telling.
Given your social care for him, one, and two, the huge respect you have for his role in the history. It's hard for him to ask that early answer, by the way. It is a complicated one, isn't it?
And it is, at the moment, still going to be the decision of Brendan Gale, who, despite what some people think, including Damien Barrett on the AFL website, will be here apparently till the end of the year.
Put a job out
the
for
ad's
the CEO.
Out. Yep, it's out. There's an international search company running it. And there's a clear decision here, Craig, between the internal candidate. Well, there were several internal candidates, but there's one of them.
The coach.
There's the key one, Simon Matthews.
Smart media positioning that. Hats off to him. I thought that was clever.
At the VFL with the coach, Adem Yze. But there's going to be external candidates as well. And there are going to be some big names going for this job. So Simon Matthews, I think, is probably Brendan Gale's preferred candidate, and he's set up the succession plan, but it won't be his call. He doesn't get the job, Simon, then you would think he leaves. And this is what's happened to Richmond in the past few years. I mean, they lost McWalter, they lost Xavier Clark, they lost some good assistant coaches who missed out on the senior coaching job. So there's a dilemma. That's another dilemma the club's facing.